The large meeting room on the planet Xerion was filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some had blue skin, others had scales, and a few looked like walking trees. They all sat around a massive circular table that glowed with soft light. This was the Galactic Council, where the most powerful species in the galaxy made decisions that affected billions of lives. Ambassador Zektar stood up slowly. His red skin was darker than usual, showing he was angry. His forearms moved as he spoke in the common galactic language that all species used for important meetings. Fellow council members, Zektar began, his voice carrying across the room. We have a problem that grows worse each day. The humans have been part of our galactic community for 15 years now. In that short time, they have caused more trouble than any species in our recorded history. Other beings in the room made sounds of agreement. Some clicked their claws on the table. Others hummed in low tones. The Alterian representative, a tall being with silver skin, nodded her long head. They refuse to follow our trade rules, Zektar continued. They expand their colonies without asking permission. They modify our technology without respecting our patents. They are loud, pushy, and they think they know better than civilizations that are millions of years older than theirs. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair aboard the Earth defense ship Liberty. Jake was a tall man with brown hair and kind eyes. He had been talking to alien friends across the galaxy when something strange happened. His communication screen started showing error messages. What's going on? Jake asked his communications officer, a young woman named Betty Clark. Betty's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. Her face looked worried as she read the messages appearing on her screen. Sir, I'm getting disconnection notices from the Galactic Network. All our channels are being cut off one by one. Jake felt his stomach drop. This was not good news. For 15 years, humans had been connected to the galaxy through a vast network of communication channels. It allowed them to talk to aliens, trade with distant worlds, and learn about the universe beyond Earth. Back on Xerion, the council was voting. Each species had one vote, and they pressed glowing buttons on the table in front of them. Green meant yes, red meant no. As the votes came in, more and more green lights appeared. Dr. Lisa Parker was in her laboratory on Earth when her alien research partner, a friendly being called Kix, suddenly vanished from her video call. Lisa had been working with Kix for 3 years, studying strange plants from distant worlds. They had become good friends despite being different species. Kix? Kix, can you hear me? Lisa called out to her screen. But there was no answer. The screen showed only a message that made her heart race. Connection terminated by Galactic Authority. Lisa ran to her window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, among the stars, something very bad was happening. On Luna Station, humanity's base on the moon, Commander Nick Carter called his senior officers to an emergency meeting. Nick was an older man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his years as a space pilot. He had seen many dangerous situations, but this felt different. Ladies and gentlemen, Nick said as his officers sat around the small meeting table, as of 30 minutes ago, Earth and all human colonies have been cut off from the Galactic Communication Network. All trade agreements have been canceled. All diplomatic channels are closed. The room went silent. Major Sam Cooper, a strong woman with short black hair, was the first to speak. Sir, does this mean we're alone again? Nick nodded slowly. It appears the Galactic Council has decided to isolate us completely. We are no longer welcome in galactic civilization. Lieutenant Danny White, a young man who had never known life without alien contact, looked confused. But why? What did we do wrong? We were too human, Nick replied with a sad smile. We didn't follow their rules. We didn't ask permission before we acted. We treated them like equals instead of superiors, and now they've decided we're too much trouble. Back on Earth, President Kate Sullivan received the official message in her office. It was written in formal galactic language, but the meaning was clear. Humanity was banished from the galactic community. They were to have no contact with any alien species. They were to stop all expansion beyond their current territories. They were to remain in their corner of the galaxy and be quiet. Kate read the message twice, then set it down on her desk. She looked out her window at the busy city below. People were walking on the streets, going about their normal lives. They had no idea that their species had just been cut off from the galaxy, but Kate knew something the Galactic Council did not know. For the past 10 years, human scientists and military leaders had been preparing for exactly this situation. They had studied the Council's history and learned that isolating troublesome species was their favorite solution to problems. Humans, however, were not like other species. When other aliens were cut off from the galaxy, they became weak and eventually faded away. But humans had a different reaction to being told they couldn't do something. Kate picked up her secure phone and made a call that would change the course of galactic history. "Admiral Bennett, this is the President. Activate Protocol Exodus immediately." On the other end of the line, Admiral Roy Bennett smiled grimly. "Yes, Madam President. It's time to show the galaxy what happens when you try to silence humanity." Council thought they had solved their human problem. They had no idea they had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. President Kate Sullivan sat in the secret meeting room deep below the White House. Around the table were the most important people in human space defense. The room had no windows and thick metal walls that blocked all signals from getting in or out. "The Council made their choice," Kate said, looking at each person in the room. "Now we make ours." Admiral Roy Bennett was a big man with white hair and steady hands. He had spent 40 years in space fighting pirates and exploring new worlds. He opened a thick folder marked with red letters that said "Top Secret." "Protocol Exodus has been ready for 5 years, Roy said. "We always knew this day might come. Every human colony, every research station, every exploration ship knows what to do." General Linda Hayes, a tough woman with short brown hair, nodded. "Our people are already moving. Within 48 hours, every human settlement will vanish from galactic sensors. The aliens won't be able to find us or track us." Kate turned to Dr. Frank Davis, a thin man with thick glasses who ran Earth's most secret science program. "Frank, tell me we're ready." Frank smiled for the first time in weeks. "Madam President, we've been more than ready for years. While we're part of the galactic community, our scientists studied every piece of alien technology we could get our hands on. We didn't just copy it, we made it better." He opened his laptop and showed pictures of new human ships. They looked different from the old ones, sleeker, more dangerous. "Our new faster-than-light drives are twice as fast as anything the aliens have," Frank continued. "Our weapons can punch through their best shields. Our sensors can see things they never dreamed of. And best of all, our stealth technology makes us completely invisible to their detection systems." On the mining colony of New Montana, Mayor Susan Brooks received the coded message she had been waiting for. Susan was a former space marine who had retired to help build humanity's newest settlement. But retirement was over now. "Attention all settlers," Susan announced over the colony's communication system. "Operation Silent Growth begins now. All mining operations are to increase by 300%. All construction projects are approved for immediate expansion. We are no longer limited by galactic building codes." The miners cheered. For years, they had been forced to work slowly because alien regulations said they could only take a certain amount of minerals from each planet, each year. Now those rules were gone. Captain Pete Johnson stood on the bridge of his ship, the UES Phantom. Pete was a quiet man who rarely smiled, but he was the best stealth pilot humanity had ever produced. His ship was completely invisible to alien sensors, even when it was right next to them. "Sir," said his communications officer, a young woman named Carol Adams. "We're receiving activation orders from Earth Command." Pete nodded. "Set course for the Zerion system. It's time to see what our alien friends are up to." The Phantom disappeared into space, moving faster and quieter than any alien ship could detect. Back on Earth, Dr. Tony Clark worked in his laboratory with a team of the smartest humans alive. Tony had been working on a secret project that would revolutionize how humans communicated across space. "The quantum communication array is ready," Tony announced to his team. "We can now talk instantly with any human settlement anywhere in the galaxy. The aliens use old technology that takes days or weeks to send messages across space. Our messages travel instantly." His assistant, A bright young man named Kevin Murphy looked amazed. "Dr. Clark, this means we can coordinate our entire civilization in real time. We can plan and execute operations faster than any alien species ever could." On the frontier world of New Texas, Commander Eric Stone received his orders and smiled. Eric was a cowboy at heart, a man who loved wide-open spaces and unlimited possibilities. The Galactic Council had just given humanity something they never had before: complete freedom. "Boys and girls," Eric called to his settlement team, "pack up the heavy equipment. We're not just building one colony anymore. We're building 50. And we're building them where we want, how we want, and as big as we want." The construction crews whooped with excitement. They had always been held back by alien regulations and treaties. Now they could build the human civilization they had always dreamed of. Meanwhile, on the secret research station hidden in the asteroid belt, Dr. Nancy Foster made a breakthrough that would change everything. Nancy was a weapons expert who had been studying alien military technology for years. "I've cracked their shield frequencies," Nancy announced to her team. "Every alien ship in the galaxy uses the same basic shield technology. Our new weapons can go right through them like they weren't even there." Her team of engineers began building weapons that no alien had ever seen before. Weapons that could destroy any ship in the alien fleet. President Sullivan received reports from across human space. Every colony was expanding. Every research station was making new discoveries. Every military unit was getting stronger. The aliens thought they had weakened humanity by cutting them off. Instead, they had removed all the restrictions that had been holding humanity back. "How long before we're ready?" Kate asked Admiral Bennett. Roy looked at his reports and calculations. 6 months, Madam President. In 6 months, we'll have more ships, better technology, and stronger colonies than we had before the aliens cut us off. In 1 year, we'll be stronger than any single alien species. In 2 years, Roy paused and smiled. "In 2 years, Madam President, the Galactic Council is going to regret the day they decided to silence humanity." Kate nodded. "Make it so, Admiral. Show the galaxy what humans do when someone tries to push us around." Across human space, millions of people worked with a determination the galaxy had never seen before. They built ships and colonies and weapons. They explored new worlds and made new discoveries. They did all of this in complete silence, invisible to the aliens who thought they had solved their human problem. The Galactic Council had no idea that their biggest mistake was about to become humanity's greatest opportunity. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council cut off humanity from the rest of the galaxy. Counselor Velnara of the Alterian Federation walked nervously into the council chambers on Zarion. Her silver skin was pale, and her long fingers shook as she carried a thick folder of reports. The other council members were already seated around the glowing table. They had been meeting more often lately because of disturbing news coming from across the galaxy. "Fellow counselors," Velnara began, her voice higher than usual, "I bring troubling reports from our monitoring stations. The human colonies are not behaving as expected." Ambassador Zektar leaned forward in his chair. His red skin was darker with worry. "What do you mean? They should be struggling without our support. That's what always happens when we isolate a troublesome species." Velnara opened her folder and spread out star charts on the table. Red dots marked human colonies. But there were many more red dots now than there had been 6 months ago. "According to our long-range sensors, human activity has increased by 400%. New colonies are appearing every week. Their mining operations have expanded beyond anything we've ever recorded. And their ships..." She paused and looked around the room. "Their ships are moving in patterns we don't understand." Far from the council chambers, Captain Pete Johnson floated in space aboard his invisible ship, the UES Phantom. Pete watched through his view screen as a large alien cargo convoy moved slowly between 2 star systems. The convoy had 20 ships carrying valuable metals and rare crystals. "Target acquired," Pete said quietly to his crew. "Begin Operation Ghost Strike." The alien ships had no idea humans were nearby. Their sensors showed empty space in all directions. That was exactly what Pete wanted them to see. "Fire the disruption beam," Pete ordered. An invisible beam shot out from the Phantom and hit the lead alien ship. All of the ship's systems shut down at once. The engines stopped working. The weapons went offline. Even the lights went out. Before, the aliens could send a distress signal. The Phantom hit the next ship and then the next. Within 5 minutes, the entire convoy was floating helplessly in space. "Send the message," Pete told his communications officer. A recorded message played on all the alien ships' emergency channels. "Your cargo has been claimed by the Free Traders Alliance. Your crews will not be harmed if you abandon your ships now." The confused alien crews had no choice but to get into their escape pods and leave. They had never heard of the Free Traders Alliance, but they didn't want to die in space. As soon as the aliens were gone, human ships appeared out of nowhere. They had been invisible, just like the Phantom. The human crews quickly transferred all the valuable cargo to their own ships and disappeared back into stealth mode. The entire attack took less than an hour. To the galaxy, it looked like alien ships were just vanishing without explanation. On Earth, Dr. Tony Clark sat in his quantum communication center, coordinating with human settlements across the galaxy. His new instant communication system allowed him to talk to colonies that were thousands of light years away, as if they were in the same room. "New Texas colony reports successful expansion into the Rigel sector," Tony announced to the command center. "New Montana has established mining operations in 15 new systems. The Europa Research Station has completed development of improved stealth generators." General Linda Hayes looked at the galactic map on the wall. It was covered with blue dots showing human colonies and bases. There were now more blue dots than anyone had imagined possible. "How are we expanding so fast?" asked Colonel Jim Parker, a new officer who had just been assigned to the secret project. Linda smiled. "Simple. For 15 years, the aliens made us ask permission for everything. Every new colony had to be approved. Every mining operation had to follow their quotas. Every research project had to respect their patents. Now we can do whatever we want, however we want to do it." She pointed to a cluster of blue dots in the outer rim of the galaxy. "See that sector? The aliens said it was protected space, and humans weren't allowed there. Now we have 12 colonies in that sector, and they're some of our most productive settlements." Meanwhile, on the trading world of Merchant's Rest, alien business leaders gathered in emergency meetings. The galaxy's economy was starting to shake. Trader Zilex, a wealthy merchant with green scales and multiple eyes, slammed his fist on the conference table. "My convoys are disappearing. 3 shipments of rare metals gone. My insurance company says it's not their problem because there's no evidence of what happened to the ships." Other merchants made sounds of agreement and frustration. Ships carrying valuable cargo were vanishing across the galaxy. The crews were always found safe in escape pods, but the ships and cargo were never seen again. "Who is this Free Traders Alliance?" asked Merchant Vex, a being that looked like a walking flower. "We've never heard of them before." "It doesn't matter who they are," Zilx replied angrily. "What matters is they're destroying our profits. Some trade routes have become so dangerous that no one will insure cargo shipments anymore." Back on Zirion, the Galactic Council was learning just how bad the situation had become. Councillor Hrex, a member of the powerful Zephyrian Empire, stood up to address the room. His blue skin was almost purple with anger. "The outer colonies of the Zephyrian Empire are requesting emergency supplies," Rex announced. "Our trade routes have become unreliable. Ships are disappearing. Cargo that should take 2 weeks to deliver is taking 2 months, if it arrives at all." The council chamber filled with worried voices. Other species were reporting similar problems. The galaxy's trade network, which had been stable for thousands of years, was falling apart. Ambassador Zektar stood up, trying to calm the room. "These attacks are probably just pirates taking advantage of—" "Pirates?" Councillor Velnara interrupted. "These aren't normal pirates. Our security analysis shows that the attackers are using weapons and technology we've never seen before. They appear from nowhere, disable our ships without destroying them, take what they want, and disappear completely." She activated a holographic display showing weapon damage on recovered alien ships. "Look at these energy signatures. The weapons that did this damage are more advanced than anything in our databases." Chief Security Officer Blake Wilson, a military expert from the Corvin Republic, studied the data carefully. Blake was known for his sharp mind and careful analysis. "Counselors," Blake said slowly, "I've been analyzing the metal fragments left behind by these mystery attackers. The molecular structure matches known human metallurgy techniques, but it's been advanced far beyond what humans possessed when we cut them off from our networks." The room went silent. Everyone stared at Blake as the meaning of his words sank in. "Are you saying," Zektar asked quietly, "that humans are responsible for these attacks?" Blake nodded grimly. "The evidence suggests that not only have humans survived being isolated from galactic civilization, but they've used that time to develop technology that surpasses our own." On the hidden human base inside the asteroid field of the Wolf 359 system, Administrator Helen Price coordinated the final phase of humanity's most ambitious project. Helen was a former engineer who now managed humanity's secret expansion program. "Phase 3 is complete," Helen reported to Earth Command through the quantum communication system. "We now have hidden bases and supply stations in 47 sectors. Our stealth technology has allowed us to build an entire supply network that the aliens can't detect." The response from Earth came instantly. "Excellent work, Helen. Begin Phase 4. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has become." Helen smiled as she looked out at the busy asteroid base around her. Human workers and robots moved quickly, building ships and weapons that no alien had ever imagined. In 18 months, humanity had gone from being an isolated, restricted species to becoming the galaxy's most advanced and widespread civilization. And the Galactic Council still had no idea what was coming. 1 year after the Galactic Council had cut off humanity from the galaxy, Council Speaker Threxmal called an emergency session. Threxmal was the oldest member of the Council, with gray skin and tired eyes that had seen many crises. But this crisis was unlike anything in his long life. The Great Council chamber was filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Many of them looked worried. Some looked angry. A few looked scared. "Fellow beings," Threxmal began, his old voice carrying across the room, "we face the greatest threat to galactic stability in recorded history. What began as mysterious ship disappearances has become a crisis that threatens the foundation of our civilization." Captain Amy Foster of the merchant vessel Lucky Strike stood at the witness table. Amy was the experienced space captain with short red hair and scars on her arms from years of dangerous cargo runs. She had been one of the first to encounter what spacers were calling ghost ships. "Tell the council what you experienced," Threxmal said to Amy. Amy looked around the room at all the alien faces staring at her. She took a deep breath and began her story. "I was running a cargo of medical supplies to the Centauri colonies," Amy said. "Standard route, nothing unusual. My sensors showed empty space in all directions. Then suddenly my entire ship just stopped working." She paused, remembering the fear she had felt that day. Every system shut down at once: engines, weapons, life support, communications, everything. My crew and I were floating helplessly in space. Then we saw them. "Saw what?" asked Counselor. "Velnara. Ships," Amy replied. "But they were like nothing I'd ever seen before. They appeared out of nowhere, like they had been invisible. Sleek, fast, and covered with weapons I didn't recognize. They took our entire cargo and left us with just enough life support to reach the nearest station." She looked directly at Threxmal. "But here's the strange part. They didn't hurt us. They even left us some food and water. It was like they wanted us to survive to tell people what happened." Murmurs of concern filled the chamber. This was not how normal pirates behaved. Counselor Hrex of the Zephyrian Empire stood up next. His blue skin was almost gray with worry. "The situation in the outer territories has become desperate," he announced. 17 of our colonies are requesting emergency supplies. The trade routes that have supplied them for centuries are no longer safe." He activated a holographic map that showed the Zephyrian territory. Red areas marked regions where ships had disappeared. "Look at this pattern," Rex said, pointing to the map. "The attacks aren't random. They're targeting specific routes and specific types of cargo. Medical supplies, rare metals, advanced technology components. It's as if the attackers know exactly what each ship is carrying." In the audience, Chief Security Officer Blake Wilson studied the tactical data on his personal device. Blake had spent months analyzing every attack, every disappearance, every piece of evidence. What he had discovered kept him awake at night. "Council Speaker," Blake said, standing up. "May I present my security analysis?" Threxmal nodded. Blake walked to the center of the room and activated the main holographic display. "I've analyzed 347 separate incidents across 73 star systems," Blake began. "The evidence points to a single, coordinated organization with resources and technology that exceed any known civilization." The hologram showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with red dots marking each attack. "Notice the pattern?" Blake continued. "The attacks started in the outer rim and are moving inward. They avoid heavily defended military convoys but target valuable civilian cargo. Most importantly, they use weapons and stealth technology that our best scientists cannot explain." Counselor Vix, a member of the Advanced Corvani Republic, interrupted. "Surely our military can handle a group of pirates, regardless of their technology." Blake's expression was grim. "Counselor, these are not pirates. 3 weeks ago, Admiral Corks of the Third Fleet attempted to intercept one of these ghost ships. His battle group consisted of 12 heavy cruisers and 30 escort vessels." The chamber went silent. Admiral Corks was famous throughout the galaxy as one of the greatest military commanders alive. "What happened?" Threxmal asked quietly. "The ghost ship disabled Admiral Corks's entire battle group in 14 minutes, Blake replied. 42 military vessels, all floating helplessly in space. The ghost ship then disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Gasps and worried voices filled the chamber. If the galaxy's best military commander couldn't stop these attackers, what hope did civilian merchants have? Blake activated another part of the holographic display. But this is the most disturbing evidence of all. The hologram showed microscopic images of metal fragments and energy signatures. "I've analyzed debris from the attack sites. The metallurgy is human. The energy signatures are human. But the technology level is far beyond what humans possessed 18 months ago when we isolated them." The chamber erupted in worried voices. Species representatives talked urgently to each other in dozens of different languages. Ambassador Zektar, who had proposed isolating humanity, stood up slowly. His red skin was pale, and his forearms shook slightly. "Are you telling this council," Zekatar said carefully, "that the species we cut off from galactic civilization has not only survived, but has somehow developed superior technology and is using it against us?" Blake nodded. "The evidence strongly suggests that humanity has used their isolation to advance their capabilities beyond anything we thought possible. They're not the weak, dependent species we expected them to become." On the other side of the galaxy, Commander Dan Miller sat in the command chair of the UES Redemption. Dan was a calm man with steady nerves and years of experience in dangerous situations, but today's mission made even him nervous. "Position report," Dan asked his navigation officer. "We're in position above the Zerian system, sir," replied Lieutenant Kelly Brown. "Full stealth mode is active. The alien homeworld is directly below us." Dan looked at the planet on his view screen. Zerion was the most heavily defended world in the galaxy, protected by massive space stations and thousands of military ships. No enemy had ever gotten this close to the Galactic Council's capital world. "Sir," said his communications officer, Commander Jack White. "Earth Command is requesting final confirmation of mission parameters." Dan took a deep breath. "Tell Earth Command that Operation Revelation is ready to proceed. We're in position to deliver President Sullivan's message to the Galactic Council." Back on Earth, President Kate Sullivan sat in the Situation Room with her top advisors. On the main screen, she could see live images from dozens of human ships, positioned throughout the galaxy. All of them were invisible to alien sensors. "Madam President," said Admiral Roy Bennett, "all ships report ready. We have vessels positioned above every major alien homeworld and military base in the galaxy. The aliens have no idea we're there." Kate nodded. "Gentlemen, 18 months ago the Galactic Council made a decision that they thought would silence humanity forever. Today we show them what silence really means." She looked at the communication device that would broadcast her message across the entire galaxy simultaneously. "It's time to end the silence. Kate said. Open all channels. Back, in the council chamber on Zarian, Threxmal was trying to restore order when something impossible happened. Every communication screen in the room activated at once, showing the same image. A human woman sitting behind a desk with the flag of Earth behind her. Greetings, Galactic Council, President Sullivan said calmly. This is President Kate Sullivan, of the United Earth Government. I believe we need to talk. Alarms began blaring throughout the Zirion system as military sensors detected the impossible, a human ship hanging motionless directly above their most protected world. The Council's decision to silence humanity had just backfired in the most spectacular way possible. 18 months after Silence Day, the Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Every being in the room stared at the main communication screen where President Kate Sullivan's image appeared with perfect clarity. Behind her, they could see the blue and green world of Earth, the planet they had tried to isolate and ignore. You chose silence, President Sullivan said, her voice calm but carrying the weight of absolute authority. We chose growth. Now we choose whether to help you fix what you've broken or to continue our expansion without you. Council Speaker Threxmal's old hands shook as he activated his response system. President Sullivan, how is this transmission possible? Our sensors show no human ships in this system. Kate smiled slightly. Speaker Threxmal, your sensors show exactly what we want them to show. Commander Miller, please reveal yourself to our hosts. Above the planet Zarion, the UES Redemption suddenly appeared in the middle of the most heavily defended space in the galaxy. The massive human ship was sleek and powerful, unlike anything the aliens had seen before. Weapon systems that the Council's best scientists couldn't identify covered its hull. Alarms screamed across every defense station around Zirion. Military commanders shouted orders in panic. The most protected world in the galaxy had been penetrated by a single human ship that no one had detected. Impossible, whispered Counselor Velnara, her silver skin turning white with shock. No ship can penetrate our defense grid undetected. Kate's image on the screen remained calm. Counselor Velnara, many things you thought were impossible have happened in the past 18 months. Dr. Parker will explain our terms. Dr. Lisa Parker appeared on the screen next to President Sullivan. Lisa looked different than she had 18 months ago. More confident. More dangerous. The friendly scientist who had once worked peacefully with alien researchers was gone. Members of the Galactic Council, Lisa began. For the past year and a half, you have experienced what you call mysterious attacks on your shipping lanes. Pirates you cannot catch. Technology you cannot understand. Economic disruption that threatens your entire civilization. She paused and looked directly into the camera. Those weren't pirates. Those were us. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. Species representatives shouted in dozens of languages. Some demanded military action, others called for immediate negotiations. Ambassador Zektar, whose proposal had started this crisis, stood up with his forearms raised for silence. His red skin was dark with anger and fear. You admit to acts of war against the Galactic Council, Zektar said. You have attacked our ships, stolen our cargo, and disrupted our trade routes. Kate's expression didn't change. Ambassador Zektar, we have carefully avoided harming any sentient beings during our operations. Every crew we encountered was left with adequate life support and supplies. We took only cargo, never lives. She leaned forward in her chair. Compare that to your decision to cut off an entire species from galactic civilization without warning or negotiation. Admiral Roy Bennett appeared on the screen next to the president. His old face was stern, but his eyes showed a hint of satisfaction. Council. Members, Roy said, I want you to understand your current situation. At this moment, human ships are positioned above every major world and military installation in the galaxy. We have been there for months. Your most advanced sensors cannot detect us. Your most powerful weapons cannot target us. To prove his point, Roy gave a simple command. All ships, reveal positions. Across the galaxy, human vessels suddenly appeared, in space above alien homeworlds. On the water world of Aquaria, 3 human destroyers materialized above the capital city. In the vegan system, an entire human fleet uncloaked near the alien space docks. Above the military fortress world of SciFiPrime, a human dreadnought appeared directly over the main command center. Every alien world in the galaxy was suddenly staring up at human ships they never knew were there. The holographic display in the council chamber showed a galactic map covered with blue dots. There were hundreds of them. Human ships and bases spread across the galaxy like a vast network. Chief Security Officer Blake Wilson stared at the display in amazement. "How many ships do you have?" he asked quietly. Admiral Bennett smiled. "More than you imagined possible. Chief Wilson, when you removed our restrictions, you removed our limitations. We have been building, exploring, and expanding at a rate no species in galactic history has achieved." Counselor Rex of the Zephyrian Empire stood up, his blue skin pale. "What do you want from us?" Dr. Lisa Parker stepped forward on the screen. "We want what we should have had from the beginning. Full membership in the Galactic Council with voting rights equal to any other species. Access to all galactic databases and scientific information. Recognition of our territorial claims in the sectors we now occupy." "And in exchange?" asked Speaker Threxmall. "In exchange," President Sullivan replied, "we will use our superior technology and logistics capabilities to restore stability to the galactic trade networks. Our ships will protect merchant convoys. Our technology will improve galactic communication and transportation. Our resources will help strengthen the galactic economy." She paused, letting the offer sink in. "We will also share some of our technological advances with species that accept us as equals rather than troublemakers." The council members looked at each other uncertainly. The species that they had expected to fade into obscurity had instead become the most powerful force in the galaxy. Counselor Vix of the Corvani Republic asked the question everyone was thinking. "And if we refuse your terms?" Admiral Bennett answered with cold military precision. "Then we continue our current operations. We expand our territory as we see fit. We take the resources we need from species that consider themselves our enemies, and we build our own galactic civilization without you." He gestured to the tactical display. "Chief Wilson's analysis was correct. Our technology is now superior to yours. Our expansion rate exceeds anything in galactic history. Our ships control space lanes you depend on for survival. We don't need your permission anymore." President Sullivan raised her hand for attention. "But we would prefer cooperation to conflict. Humanity has always been stronger when working with others rather than alone." The council chamber was silent as the representatives considered their options. They could declare war on humanity, but human ships were already positioned to strike every important target in the galaxy. They could try to negotiate better terms, but humanity held all the advantages. They could refuse and hope humanity was bluffing, but the evidence showed that humans never bluffed. Finally, Speaker Threxmall spoke for the council. "President Sullivan, the Galactic Council requests a recess to consider your proposal." Kate nodded. "Of course, Speaker. You have 24 hours to decide. After that, we will assume you have chosen the path of continued isolation." The transmission ended, leaving the council members staring at blank screens. 23 hours and 45 minutes later, the Galactic Council voted unanimously to accept humanity's terms. The species that had been silenced was now the most powerful voice in galactic civilization. As Admiral Bennett's fleets emerged from stealth across 100 systems simultaneously, every being in the galaxy learned the same lesson. When humans are told they can't do something, they don't give up. They get better, they get stronger, they get more determined, and they prove that silence is just the calm before the storm. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.